This is James Lupton for Pro Boxing Fans. Delighted to be joined on Zoom with Viddal Riley. Big thank you and shout out to Geraldine Davis, Viddal's publicist, who helped set this interview up. We jump straight in to talking about Viddal's next fight on the Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. undercard. How did the fight come about, and how did you hear about this one coming onto this undercard?
It kind of came out of nowhere. It wasn't something that's been planned long term, really. My manager, Amir Abdullah, has good connections with the Tyson team and his promotions and Legends Only. And yeah, he managed to negotiate a way for me and Badu to be on the show as he manages both of us. So great opportunity. I expected to have another fight this year, regardless of what's been going on, the pandemic, but I didn't expect it to be on this level. So very pleasant surprise and just another, thing to add to my list of achievements so far.
Absolutely. You seem to only fight on big cards at the minute.
I know, setting a high bar to keep surpassing, but I guess it's a task. Nate and Jake, I feel is a big mismatch. I don't have a problem with with YouTubers fighting and stuff. I really don't. But one thing I do want to see is a competitive fight. KSI and Logan was huge because both fights were very competitive. You could see both guys of similar level. So it made for a good matchup. I don't want to see Jake, who's my size, fighting someone 5'7" and 25 pounds lighter than him. That is when it starts to become a gimmick, and that's going to push them in the wrong category. I can't disrespect that community coming from there, and being a part of it. But when the fights start to become like this, I see why the traditional boxing side, start to take umbrage to it, especially when his fight is after a world champion. Badu himself, he's lower on the card. So at least if you're going to take the higher position, I understand it comes from popularity, but also let's get an opponent that you're actually going to have to work hard to win against. And then the main event.
Sorry, is it fair to say that that fight is a bad advert for the YouTuber side of things?
Yeah, it is a bad advert because I feel like, unfortunately, Gib and Jake wasn't a good show. Overall, it wasn't a good show. That's not a secret. The undercard, there was a few upsets as well, made the show a bit weird. The venue was rushed and everything. And then the main event didn't deliver. Gib promoted the fight well, as did Jake. But when it came down to the performance of it, it really made you think, hold on a second. These guys are completely different sizes. They're don't even look near the same weight category. And as a result, we get a 1-round stoppage. So that already had people kind of on edge. Now, Jake goes into another fight again where he's fighting someone so much smaller than him once again. And it's like, okay, if we're going to have these fights, make them competitive. At the bare minimum, fight someone that's your size.
And the one thing is, obviously, Nate he's clearly athletically inclined. He's competed at a good standard sport, although not boxing. He has got that winning mentality as such.
He does, but I guess you could say Jeff Bezos has a winning mentality. Is it having a winning mentality and being able to box and being able to compete, being able to dunk is very separate things. And he just started boxing recently. It's not like he won the Golden Gloves back in the day and he done, it's not even that. He's a novice boxer who's 5'8", that weighs 180 something pounds, when Jake is 200 pounds, 200 plus, and has been boxing now for a couple years. That is the thing for me. I don't feel like that fight doesn't make any sense. But when people trash talk, anything happens. But no, I'm not a big fan of that fight. I don't care that they're on the card. I repeat that. I don't care that. I don't think it's wrong that he's on the card. It brings attention. It brings millions of more viewers, and I'm on the show, so I'm not going to complain. But at least have a competitive fight. The main event, Roy Jones versus Mike Tyson is a fight I never thought I'd see. I know Roy Jones did call out Tyson back in the day, 2003, 2004, when he beat John Ruiz and Tyson was on the decline and fighting, Danny Williams, Kevin McBride, that sort of era of his career. So it's been a long time coming for them, I guess they would say. I never pick a winner. I never pick a winner because I don't want to put myself in that position. It's two, as I say, it's two legends, two great guys. I just want both of them to be safe. Honestly, I want both guys to come out safe. That's the number one thing. Roy, as we know, towards the tail end of his career, did suffer a lot of knockout defeats. And Tyson, we know he goes in to kill you. So, with that combination, I just hope both guys come out safe.
Absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about training alongside Mike Tyson. Like I said, I had the photos today sent to me down a wild card with him. What's it been like to be around someone like that?
It was, of course, a great experience, man. For me, there's stuff that you do as an obligation, as social media obligation, camera stuff that we both agree. Okay, this guy's gonna talk to you, make it look good on camera. And then there's also times where you have the genuine conversations, and that's what really hits home for me. Not the stuff that is scripted, but when he's asking genuine questions like, where in London are you from? Okay, I've had a fight in Manchester. I liked it up there. I've been to Brixton. He's having a genuine conversation, and that was the best part for me. And also he shared his views on my age, because I said to him, I played the joke with him. I said, I think I'm behind because I'm not world champion yet and I'm 23. And he gave me some nice speech and like life lesson just to really focus on my path and focus on myself. Don't try and be like anyone else. He said he spent a lot of time trying to be like other people, got himself in a lot of trouble. So it was good to have those sort of conversations with someone who not only in the ring but outside the ring has been through a world of experiences that probably most of us couldn't handle. So no, it was a very refreshing experience, and yeah, I definitely keep that one documented for a while.
And also want to touch on, obviously, down a wild card, Freddie Roach, also pitch as
Yep,
well.
Freddie Roach too. Mm-hmm.
What's he like? Obviously, he's got bags of experience at the top level.
Very nice guy, very kind guy, peaceful aura about him. He watched me on the pads. He just said, you got good power, good speed, for your size. And yeah, he was very chill, man. We just had again a conversation about him coming over to the UK when he was training Amir Khan. He was just talking about his experiences being in London. I guess that's the easiest conversation to make when you hear me speak. Obviously I'm from England, so I thought everyone shares their personal experience with the UK when we have a conversation. But I like that anyway, because it's good to just have that genuine conversation with these people who are legends of the sport. Freddie Roach, the legendary trainer. Mike Tyson goes without saying, a legendary fighter. So when they're showing genuine interest in where I'm from and my background, yeah, I just soak it all up.
Has there been a certain piece of advice or anything that either of those two have said to you so far in this camp that will stay with you forever?
Yeah, Mike said to me, don't always think the grass is greener on the other side, because that grass still has to get cut. That's what he said. That was one of the things that I liked that he said. And when you think about it, it's true, So, and that was part of the speech of him saying, don't try and be like anyone else, or don't worry about me being world champion at 20. Just follow your path, type thing, and that was a part of that speech. So when I heard him say that, it's just little things like that. It's just you can say now for the rest of my life, I can be like, one thing Mike Tyson taught me was, normally people say, oh, my uncle, my dad, my mom, auntie told me this, but I can say Mike Tyson told me da 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 da, and it's like, yeah, he actually did. When you sit down and think about it, it's a life lesson, and I'm sure hopefully we have more than one conversation in the near future.
How much longer are you with Mike and over at Wildcard? Are you there for a full camp with Mike Tyson, or you just?
So no. So that wasn't the full camp. That was a day thing for Triller, who's promoting the event or broadcasting the event, I should say. Um, that was for them to get some footage and all the dramatic stuff, looking into the camera and making angry faces and all that stuff that I just find weird, but it has to be done, I guess. But maybe there'll be like follow-up episodes and stuff, so we might have to go out there again and get some stuff with him, work with him. And it was just good to see him watching me on the pads as well. You know, he wasn't asked to watch me, which I always prefer the genuine things. You know, when I'm hitting the pads with Jeff, he's looking over, obviously hearing something worth looking at. So all of that is just, yeah, it's just a great experience. And yeah, so I took it all in, and obviously you will see it on my channel because I'm a content guy as well, so I had to get more content.
Absolutely. You mentioned their Triller, they are broadcasting it, and he's touched on
Yeah.
it earlier about Jake and Nate Robinson, so they're bringing an audience. Do you feel
Mm.
they've been quite clever with how they filled the show so far?
Yeah, very smart, because you got the mini level of Jake Paul. I'll be very humble because that's the truth. You got a mini level of Jake Paul following from that same sort of crowd and audience to KSI thing with me, and then you got Badu, who is a genuine credentials speak for itself, two-weight world champion. So you got the credibility in the show, and then you got Nate and Jake, who are just purely popularity based. And again, bringing a ton of attention. And then you got the two legends in the main event. So I think it is a perfect balance. I think Triller have done a great job of tapping into all different types of markets, because you got the younger generation covered by me and Jake. You got the traditional boxing world covered by Badu, and you got the everyone in the world covered by Mike Tyson fighting Ray. So yeah, it makes sense, and hopefully the views and the revenue equate to what they believe it will be.
In terms of you said you're going to be it's going to be billed as heavyweight.
Yeah,
However, you'll be coming in around about the cruiserweight limit.
yeah.
What's your thoughts? Mauricio Suleiman recently said about a new weight class bridging that gap between cruiserweight and heavyweight. What are your thoughts on that? Would that suit you better?
I actually saw that yesterday. I know Tony Bellew is supposed to be a part of the
He's an
committee.
ambassador for it. That's it. Yeah.
Ambassador, yeah.
Mauricio, I
It
think heavyweight
makes
would start
sense.
at 220. I think they're moving heavyweight to.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. Even though it would benefit someone like me, I don't know. I just because heavyweights are getting massive. They're not really the opportunity for cruiserweights to step up to heavyweight is lowering every year, every 5 years, every decade. But that's the sport. So sometimes things should just be how it is, you know. It does make sense to have a weight in between because people want to be in. There's a lot of people who are in that section where they're not big enough to be heavy, and they're not and they're too big to be a cruiser, which is why a cruiser was invented in the first place. I guess you're too big to be light heavy, but you're not big enough to be a heavyweight, so we made cruiserweight. I guess it's just a new idea that my brain's not used to. People probably felt like this about cruiserweight back in the day. They probably said, "Look, it is what it is. Light heavy, heavy it is what it is. Leave it alone." Let alone all the supers and the juniors of divisions. But I don't know. It's gonna take some time. It'll probably be normal in 20 years. But right now, I'm kind of like, just leave it. If you're big enough, you're big enough. If you're not, then cut the weight. I guess it's easy for me to say because I'm the lower end of a cruiserweight, so I know I can make the weight. But I guess the guys that are walking around 220 don't want to keep losing 20 pounds to make the 200 limit. But at the same time, they don't want to fight AJ who's 265, 240, 250 pounds. So I guess it makes sense. I can't be against it because it's logical, but I don't know. It's one of those. It's a new idea. It's a new idea. I'd be very interested to see how it goes, but it just leaves more room for too much discussion, I guess. Too much. You know, it leaves room for too much of this guy's world champion. And I don't even know what they're gonna name the weight. What are they gonna name it? Super Cruiser or something?
Super Cruiser, I'd imagine.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm Super Cruiserweight champion, but I don't want to fight AJ. It's like it leaves room for so much more of those sort of debates. Oh, but I'm only 10 pounds heavier than you. You can come up and fight me. And it's just like, I'm not ready for all of that discussion. But it's a good idea. It's a good idea. And I think it is fair. And in the amateurs, as we know, they do have a heavyweight and they do have a super heavyweight. 91 kg, 91 plus. So I guess there's no difference, really.
Last one from me. I don't know, you might not even know, is there going to be any more additions to the card, or is that the card filled?
That's a good question. A lot of people have been asking me that. I'm not sure. I feel like if they were going to be more added, we would have known when it was announced. Because we have to remember that because of the pandemic, you only can have a certain amount of fights per card. Fight camp of they only have like 5 Matchroom Fight Camp, 5 fights a card, something like that.
They've changed it in the last couple of weeks, so it's now up to 7 fights in the UK.
Oh, they've had 7. Okay, cool. That's in the UK.
Yeah.
So over here, especially California, you can't even eat inside a restaurant yet.
Oh, really? Okay.
So yeah, you can't even eat inside a restaurant in California. So I doubt they will be upping the amount of fights. But yeah, that's a common question actually. Who's been added? If there's any more fights, and if there will be a crowd. We know there ain't gonna be a crowd. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think there is any more additions to the card. And there definitely ain't gonna be a crowd, unfortunately. You know.
Also going to be obviously no crowd. I think we spoke about it before. It's going to be a bit weird, but obviously to have the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, and the big additions to the card,
yeah,
it's going to be really odd.
You know what? Like, for me, at my level, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's a crowd or not.
I mean,
My first fight,
6 people.
Yeah, my fight at MGM was, I could count on both my hands. Let me be generous, both my hands. How many people were there? My fight in Mexico, you can just see a couple people chilling in the crowd. Dubai was obviously more of a crowd because there's a main event and stuff. And then the Mayweather promotion show, yeah, there's more people, but it's still small hall shows. So I don't care that no one's there. I think it's cool that no one's there anyway. I don't care. As long as I win. As long as I win, I'd rather win with 0 fans than lose with 1 million in the audience. That's my mentality. So I just look forward to getting the victory and knowing that 1 million people will see it online anyway.
Definitely. Perfect. That's everything I wanted to grab from you.